My name is Pat Durbin. I'm the Vice President of Tyler's Life. And I can't tell you how overwhelming, how much we appreciate everybody that's here this evening. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Sycamore Creek Church for allowing us this venue tonight as we discuss Tyler's Life Foundation. To all of our guests here this evening, taking the time to see this, see where we're headed, see what we're about, is very important to us, and we believe very important to this community. As you look in your brochure, I would like to thank all those guests that have taken time out of their busy schedules. Colonel John Harris, our Assistant Adjutant General for the Ohio Army National Guard, is here. Sir, thanks for being here. Mr. Jim Sotler, our Acting Superintendent of the Schools, is here as well, along with our firemen, our policemen, members of the boards, of many addiction boards, have taken their time to be here, along with our guests that will be speaking this evening.
My name is Wayne Campbell, and I'm Tyler Campbell's father. And by all rights, I shouldn't be standing here telling my story. And you'll see that later as I finish my story. And we had a couple TV stations here, Channel 6 and Channel 10, when I started to come in and interview. And they just tell me about the story. So, well, you have 3 minutes. How much can you tell them? So we gave them from July till now, how this organization came about. But I'm going to tell you because most of you are Pickerington or at least Fairfield County people. So we're going to go back a little ways and tell you how we got here. And I think we followed the path that I think we all tried to follow. You're young, you're married, you start raising a family. And with that, you say, all right, let's do all the right things. Let's volunteer in the schools. Let's join the PTO. Let's volunteer for the youth sports and do all the things. Know where your kids are at all times. And we did all that. And it was a good program. And I had the theory of put your kids in athletics, keep them in everything that's out there. Every season change, you go to the new one. Because idle time to me was was my fear factor. If you had idle time, that's where the bad things could happen. So I kept our kids in sports, and luckily we had 3 boys, and it all fit, and we made it to graduation with Tyler. So we fast forwarded, and everything was okay, and minor incidents along the way like we've all had. But again, our structure and our program was working. They were playing sports, they were busy, they would go to do their homework, and then they were so tired they'd go to sleep so thinking, no problems. So, it was working with the other 2 sons also, and worked well. So we sent him off to college, and the first 2 years were great. He's an overachiever. He walked on at the University of Akron, and was very successful the first 2 years. And injuries, surgery, comes prescription pain medication, and what do we know that's addictive, that's harmful? We had no idea. So going into his 3rd year, just saw changes, some physical changes, personality changes, and we're going to tell you parents that there was a money trail. Money wasn't right. He was on a scholarship, he never had any money, and he went into his 3rd year, and playing ability was going down, so we just, as parents, many talks. What is going on here? And he was very evasive, and you couldn't get much information from him. So we, suspected things, and there was a group of kids that he hung out with on a team, and one of them just happened to get thrown off the team that year. He was the quarterback, a 3-year starter, and weren't sure, but it was, broken team rules. But then we get some other kids to talk, and he was into prescription pain medication and was stealing anything he could to fund his habit. So then we thought, oh no, we got a problem. And winter break, came home for Christmas, like you get to see him about 4 or 5 weeks a year, 1 week in the summer and 4 weeks at Christmas. So I was waiting at the door, and we went down to OSU Talbot Hall for a test. He went kicking and screaming, but that was the deal. We had to find out. And he was tested positive, and then the truth came out. So we had 4 weeks to put him in a program, put him in an outpatient program there at Talbot Hall at Ohio State, and back to school. It started in January. Well, we were the uneducated parents. We thought, okay, you put them in a program, they're done, right? You fix them, like a car, a bicycle. And that wasn't the case. Got back to school, and it escalated. It got worse. New coaching staff was there, phone call, take him home, get him fixed up, and call me in the summer. So we brought him home and did it again. And, it was a year and a half, a really tough battle. Because once they're over 18, you can't force them to do anything. You have to try to convince them. If you can't convince them, then the thing continues. There were some highs and lows there. I mean, obviously, we kept thinking that the athletics will keep him straight. The love of the game, he'll go back to it, and it'll all make sense. Didn't go back to the University of Akron because it's like the scene of the crime. He was afraid to go back because there were too many memories there. So he tried to enroll at a local school, keep the education going, work, but constantly in therapy. Going to meetings constantly, and have highs and lows. And his friends were, watching the changes, and went through a big high. His old coach went to the University of Colorado, calls him up and says, "Do you have a year of eligibility left?" He says, "Yes." And he said, "Well, we need a safety out here." And so he flew out for the spring game, and again came the highs. He was excited. He's going to go play football again. That'll keep him out of trouble and keep him away from the drugs. And visited, had a great visit out there, came back. Now we had a bunch of NCAA hoops to jump through, and we couldn't get through all of them because there are a lot of rules when you change schools. So when that wasn't available, then came the lows again. So, we as a set of parents, Christy and I, have been through a lot. And so the last inpatient stay was July. He admitted that he has a problem again, and so we put him inpatient and up near Cleveland. So 3.5 weeks later, it's time to go home because the insurance industry said it's time to go home. Not because you wanted to, and not because it's ready, but it's time to go home because they won't pay anymore. So Christy brings him home, and had a great day with him, and I had a great conversation that evening. And one of in the family of opiates, prescription pain medication is heroin. And he learned of heroin through rehabilitation, going to an inpatient program up in Gahanna, and that's where he learned of it. He was picking people up and taking the class and trying to be the good guy, and it's in the family, and it's cheap, and it's available. So this is a child that couldn't give blood, but you can take a needle and get your fix. And he was embarrassed, all the time embarrassed, and very depressed. So that's the path that brought us here today. Christy and I were sitting in the funeral director's office 2 days after he had overdosed, and there were these little arm bracelets, and so we asked the question, what were those? And so it was like a light bulb went off, and said, we can't, this is no longer our dirty little secret. It's, we know there's more of them out there. Let's let people know that this is what happened to Tyler, and maybe they won't feel ashamed, that maybe they had a loved one in this situation also. So we got 300 of them, gave them out at the service if you were there, to the teens in the early 20s, and we used the drug slogan, "Just Say No" for Tyler Campbell. And that progressed into, as you see on the table, and football games and so forth. So it's an awareness situation. So again, with what we did as parents, and I said the first time, I shouldn't be here talking to you. We did all the right things as, I guess, what's the norm. But that doesn't always, I guess, guarantee success. So as the light went off, we said, let's not advertise it. Let's at least be honest with people. I imagine they're talking anyhow, or people are whispering what happened. Tyler's not the typical drug addict, we call him. He's not a person you've seen addicted. He's a student athlete. Had a great reputation in the community. So that's what brought us here. to, I guess, this date, angry parents, angry neighbors, parents. 2 weeks after, we had a little get-together and just throwing ideas across the table. And there were some angry parents. Could we be the vigilantes and go help the law enforcement and let's go get all the drug dealers? Well, they're already having trouble doing that themselves. They don't need to arrest me because I'm out trying to get them too. So that wasn't one of the ideas that stuck very well. So a guy that's not here, Tom Blaze, came up with the idea. An organization, it's called Tyler's Light. And you just kick ideas around, but for all the time I put into trying to rehabilitate or try to help Tyler with his addiction, I have 20 hours a week now that I can spare and do something else with. So it just became natural. If we lost that battle, let's just keep the fight up, because there are a lot of people in this battle. During the service, 1,200, 1,500 people, whatever it was that showed up. Literally, there were a couple hundred people that whispered in our ear that they had the same situation at home. They have a loved one, and they weren't the typical people either. So, as we sat there afterwards and collected our thoughts, we thought this would be the right thing to do. So, here we are. We're here to educate and raise awareness. Again, it's because we're using, I guess, Tyler's publicity or fame as a springboard to get this thing going. But we do have a problem. The video you just watched is from '09, so it's the numbers that they may have mentioned they're even more. They're staggering. And with that, I like to ramble, so I better get off the mic. But I want to introduce our first guest speaker, and we could have had a ton of them. I want to thank all the people we put in the middle rows here, call them our special guests from law enforcement, education, health, mental health, so forth. But Ed Hughes, his bio is in your pamphlet. He is an author and a 30-year veteran of this war against drugs and addiction, Fort Smith, Ohio area, and it was the first book I read when I was trying to educate myself on this whole situation. So it's a very good read. And he brought some with him, and if you would like to have one, they are free out on the desk. And it's called Baffled by Addiction. It's a great read, a very easy read, so it'll help you with the path that you're walking. So, Ed, I'll let you roll on up here for a little bit, and hope you enjoy what we've set up for your program. And I want to thank you guys all for coming.